Hello, class. Welcome back to Economic Development, an online class adventure. And for our next adventure, we'll be writing your first essay. And one thing you're going to notice right up front is that the instructions are almost as long as the amount of space that you have to write the paper. So the difficulty of this paper truly is going to be trying to say everything that you need to say in the limited space that you have. I think this is a valuable skill. Oftentimes I write proposals for funding, and the most difficult thing is trying to say what I need to say in the words that I'm allowed. So first thing off, it needs to be 4 pages or less, double spaced, 12-point font, no funny business. Your graphs don't count, your citations don't count. Please use APA format. And then the next thing I say, you should choose a country. You are more than welcome to use the same country that you've used for everything else. That will make the assignment a lot easier. If for some reason you want to switch countries for the paper, then you've been doing the discussions on, that's fine. All right, so we've read most of Paul Collier's Bottom Billion, and basically what this essay is going to do is going to take the things that you've learned about the Solow model and incorporate them into the Bottom Billion. And the other thing is a lot of these things you've already talked about in your discussion. So, for example, on the first thing that you need to do is talk about your country in terms of human development indicators, things like life expectancy, literacy rates. That's things that you've already done for your discussion questions and shouldn't be too hard to find out. And then the next thing that you need to do, part 2, is discuss the reason your country has or has not experienced the 4 traps. Now, each of you has identified likely one of the 4 traps that one or more of the 4 traps that your country has experienced. What you need to do in this part, and just be really careful, is to describe why Collier believes that each of these countries fall into this trap. So if it's been a conflict, you need to explain, well, they've had low GDP per capita or low GDP per capita growth. If it's a natural resource trap, you talk about how they found these natural resources. If it's a small country with bad governance, you talk about the population size and that kind of thing. All right. So then, provide in a half a page a brief overview of the Solow model. Now, when you do a Solow model, what you want to do is you want to think about the video that you saw in the Solow model. And I'm going to talk about a little bit more in the second video when I talk about how to draw this. In some sense, but what you want to do is you want to talk about, well, Collier is talking about how countries grow. So make sure when you introduce the Solow model, you link it back to Collier, at least somewhere in each paragraph you write. So then what you're going to do is you're going to draw a diagram of the model, and in that diagram you're going to put the savings curve and the population growth curves, and you're going to compare your country to another country. So you're going to compare your country to another country. In this case, you're going to be comparing, instead of to the United States, or instead of to Argentina, you're going to compare it to the United States. And I want you to go find the data for the United States in terms of GDP per capita and the savings rate and the population growth. I showed you below how to find that data in the Penn World Tables. And what I want you to do, you can either do 1990 to 2010 or 1989 to 2009. I want you to calculate the percent change in population growth. You'll notice that we took the percent change in population growth, Canada's population going from 33,487 to 27,279, and that's a 22% increase. Their GDP per capita went from 19,000 to about 40,000. That's about a 100% increase, and their savings rate has been pretty consistent, about 22%. All right. So next, we'll talk about Collier's development traps. I'll talk about that a little bit more when I show you how the Solow model actually works. And then we're going to talk about growth over the last 20 years and what it looks like between those 2 countries. And then finally, and this is a very important part, and this is why I put it in bold, you need to thread through your paper, or at least put at the end, 2 articles, either from newspapers, academic papers, development organizations. Some of you have already found newspaper articles for your country. But what the articles need to do is to indicate a trap, that is happening in your country. So if it's a conflict trap, you could have an article on the ongoing war. If it's a natural resource trap, you could have an article on the oil sector in your country. If it's a landlocked trap, you can have something about how the country might be trying to overcome that through building airports and such. All right, so I'm going to stop this video and I'm going to make another video that talks about how to draw the solo curves using Microsoft Word. You can also hand draw them and scan it in if you like, but I find it's a little easier to draw in Word. Finally, if you guys have any questions, that things are unclear, please let me know and I'll try to answer them.